Hi everybody, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day, and there's no surprise where I'm going on this one. It's the massive news, the divisive news that's came out from the football club. Newcastle United will be raising the season ticket prices by 5%. It's caused a lot of outrage amongst the fan base, and some people in the fan base don't seem to see the problem with it. Some people have been behaving quite crassly, to be honest with you. I'm going to do my best to give you my opinion and kind of pick through it. Just before I do a little precursor, whatever you think about this, wherever you sit in this particular situation, that's where you sit. That's fine. But you have to understand other people's circumstances and other people's situations in the whole situation of this. This is a very, very passionate, very, very emotional subject. Newcastle United means everything to people. Newcastle United is a religion to people, not just in the North East or around the world, who travel to games as well, but more importantly, I suppose, the Newcastle fans who have been through thick and thin with this football club, through the bad days, and now are supposedly enjoying the good days and are feeling a little bit aggrieved by this. So let's get stuck right into this, basically. What happened? So I kind of knew this was happening already. I'd heard murmurs behind the scenes. I don't come on and do ITK things. That's not what I do. You know, some people talk to me and I don't talk about it. I don't drop them in the shit. It's not what I do. I wait till it's out in the open, then I give you an opinion on it. Now, some people have done that recently in terms of Newcastle United content creators. We're younger than I am. Who want to make a career out of this, and they've been slapped down even by our own players, which I think is fucking ridiculous, to be honest with you. The whole point of content creation is to talk about things happening. And if you guys like it, great. If you don't like it, fine. You don't need to click unsubscribe. You don't need to abuse somebody. Just don't watch it or don't agree with it. That's absolutely fine. But if you want to give your opinion on it, give it in the comments and keep it above the belt. But this whole situation, my take on this is I think it's a terrible look for Newcastle United, and the optics are awful. And I'll explain my reasons why. I'll show you my workings out in a minute for that. But look at other football clubs in the Premier League. Now, forget the Premier League for a second. This is such a difficult time for everybody around the world. Certainly in the UK, the cost of living is biting massively. Wages are stagnating. Inflation is going back up. Your energy bills are a fortune. Your council tax is a fortune. Nothing is better. You know, your employers having to then contribute more to NI, etc., etc. We're not a political channel. I'm not going down that route. But then that means less pay for you. People are getting struck off. People are getting made redundant. It's a rancid time in terms of an economy for the country. But football is on a different plane of existence. Football is fueled by greed. Certainly the Premier League, in comparison to other leagues around the world, like the Bundesliga, which I'll get into in a second. We did a great interview with Kieran Maguire a few weeks ago. Kieran's a top bloke. You could hear it in Kieran's voice as well. He's a financial expert. He understands money more than I ever will. And he's saying the same thing. The people who own these football clubs are so far removed from the people that follow them. They don't understand the impact of these rises of tickets to those supporters. What's disappointing really is a lot of the supporters out there don't seem to understand it either, but a lot of them are skid stains on the toilet social media, so I'm not going to take too much of a weight into that situation. But for me, looking at the Premier League and on its own, you know, teams like Brentford, Wolves, and Liverpool of all teams have frozen their season ticket prices, and other teams have not done that. Newcastle United are now no different to the likes of Sir Jim Twatclitt's Manchester United, to Arsenal, to Spurs, to Fulham, who are grotesquely raising their ticket prices to the point where it's unsustainable. The problem is with Fulham, it's on the periphery of Chelsea to Fulham, you know, in terms of the class divide, the wage divide, all that kind of stuff. The cost they want to watch Fulham Football Club is fucking obscene compared to other tickets around the world. You probably get a fucking season ticket that burn about cheaper than the way Fulham are going at the minute. But this isn't about them. This is about Newcastle United. So basically what's happened is this is a double whammy blow for a lot of season ticket holders. So a lot of season ticket holders were on a long-term deal, a 10-year deal, where the season ticket prices were protected. They have now come off of that deal. That deal, I believe, expired, I think it was June, wasn't it? So they are now getting hit with that and the increase as well. And what does it mean, right? What does it mean for the football club? Now, the football club themselves have already been out boasting about their profits just before I get into this. So Newcastle United's latest reported revenue is 320.3 million. And that's up from 250 million in 2022-23. So that's reflecting 90%, 32% increases in commercial and matchday revenues, respectively. So just pause that thought for a minute. They're already making a lot of money in this football club, right? They're making extra revenue. You know, they've increased loads of stuff. You know, they've done the membership ballot thing. I'll get into that bullshit fucking situation in a minute. I've already talked about that. I'm going to talk about it again. They've done that. You know, they've now brought some sponsorship to the table, where the Champions League money and all that kind of stuff as well. You know, so they are making more money as a football club. They haven't spent in 3 fucking windows. We haven't bought a first team player in 3 windows, and it's showing right now injuries to key players at key times of the season, cup finals, Champions League places. I'll get onto what Darren Eales has said in a minute, because that's really pissed me off as well, to be fair. But I think he's completely misread the room as well. So that whole situation as well, the fans are looking, going, where's my players? Where's my Newcastle United that's pushing for the Champions League? Why am I still looking at championship players who are here? I saw a post earlier on, somebody getting a semi on because Jamal Lascelles was running on the grass. Do me a fucking favour, man. This guy should have been binned years ago. We should have had a more suitable replacement for him. There's players here that have been here way too long, regress way past the sell-by day because we're not buying any players. And yes, that is mitigated and caveated because of the bullshit rules of PSR and FFP introduced by the mega-rich Premier League that wet the bed thinking about a Leicester City. The Leicester City win the league. They don't want that. They don't want another Manchester City or Chelsea when they were bought out by Abramovich's money. They don't want that. They want to keep it ring-fenced for the perfect little greedy six red cartel of Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs and Chelsea in there. City is still seen as outsiders, I suppose, but they want to keep it in that lovely little clique of clubs that don't want anybody else to reach for the brass ring. And that's why they fucked clubs like Newcastle over. And that is definitely a mitigation. There's no doubt about that. I will side with the club on that. They haven't been able to spend the money that they wanted to spend. But also, where's the sponsorship money? Where's the training ground sponsor? All this other stuff as well. They haven't done any of that. They haven't done any of that at the football club. They know the new stadium's kind of dead in the water now as well. Off the back of this news, that makes me worry about a new stadium. It really does, because yes, if there's extra tickets available, there's extra season tickets that can be sold, what price are they going to be? You saw what's happened to the Emirates and the Etihad and all of this stuff as well. I'll get into the atmosphere on a second. There's a lot of unpick with this as well. But basically what's happening, it's a double whammy. So if you look at the increase alone of the long-term deal coming to an end, that was probably good. I think it's probably round about 40 quid or something like that, between 40 and 50 quid increase per year. Now, I've seen some people going, oh, fucking hell, that's not much, is it? You know what I mean? Whatever it is. But it is a lot for people to swallow, because it isn't just the whole match day tickets. You've got to travel to games. You've got to go away games. They change them for TV all the time. There's trains, there's hotels. Following your football club is a mega, mega expensive outlay. It doesn't matter what you earn. The average wage in the Northeast, by the way, is 30 grand a year. And how much is your council tax? How much is your mortgage? How much is your energy bills? Everything. How much is your kids' Xboxes? How much is the 4 or 5 Newcastle shirts that the club keep throwing out there? People go, oh, well, Chris, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy it. But football is an addiction and people want to buy it. Their kids want the shirts. They want the shirts. The club knows exactly what they're doing when they launch these fucking Adidas kits. So they're making money off that as well. That's helped increase the revenue. But going back to the main ticket price alone, so that extra increase to the football club is worth about 400 grand or something like that in terms of the extra boost to the revenue. So that would have been enough. They didn't need to throw on the 5% surcharge on top of that as well. If you wanted to get the extra £500,000 from the fans, coming out the 10-year deal, fine, okay, it's a bit harsh, but I understand it. But to do two of them together is totally tone deaf, in my opinion. I think it's a terrible optic from the football club, especially when, let's call a fucking spade here. We won nothing. We qualified for the Champions League, yes. Are we fighting relegation anymore? No. We're kind of in and around 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th. There's a massive, massive end of the season to come here. Newcastle United could potentially fuck up a cup final and finish outside of the top 5. How are all them fans going to feel then about the extra season ticket prices? I'm not sure they'd be overly keen, to be honest with you. And then we've got the summer transfer window. Are we going to buy somebody? They keep talking about buying players. They said that the last 2 or 3 windows. Some people have got absolutely blind faith in the recruitment behind the scenes of the football club, which I cannot get my fucking head around whatsoever. Paul Mitchell's done fuck all. Absolutely fuck all. And people come back at me in comments, whether it's on my channel or other people's channels, saying, oh, well, they brought young players in, some players for the women's team, Chris. I'm talking about first-team players. You're better than that. Stop fucking around with it. First-team players. We haven't seen a first-team addition in 3 years at the football club, and it is showing right now. And that's another reason fans get pissed off when you see these ticket rises. But there's some unbelievable statements coming out here. I'm going to pick through them right now. So this is from the Fan Advisory Board, the Newcastle United Fan Advisory Board, that the club wanted to put in place. This was their idea. So the Fan Advisory Board have come out and said this. They said, we unanimously reject the decision by the club to raise adult season tickets by 5% for the 3rd consecutive season, against the backdrop of long-term deals ending and the announcement made by the club earlier this week regarding improved financial performance for the year to June 2024. We reject the choice made by the club to increase the cost of adult season tickets by a further 5%. Our position remains that there should be no further increases on top of the long-term freeze. We are hugely disappointed and request a full consultation on all future ticketing decisions. This includes individual match tickets, cup schemes, and memberships as well. So that's strong from the Newcastle Fan Advisory Board, very strong. And I think that speaks probably more to the match-going fans than anything. I don't like this bollocks I'm seeing on social media, but if you don't want your ticket, I'll have your ticket. For starters, you're talking bollocks. You probably can't even afford the fucking ticket half of you that are saying that, right? And you would moan like fuck if your ticket prices went up. But it also shows a problem with society, the selfishness of people. I'm all right, Jack, fuck you. Listen, if you can afford the rise, then fine. You know, I was at a talk end of the day, True Faith talking, shout out to True Faith. It was a brilliant night, great night with Craig Cope and the guys from True Faith. And I was talking to a few fans there, a few mates of mine who can afford the rise, right? It's going to hurt a little bit, but they can afford the rise. But they're not out there giving it big licks, swinging a dick left or right. Show some decorum. If you're better off financially than somebody else, fine. Don't throw it in the fucking face. That is horrendous. That is bad. And shame on you for doing that kind of shit. But people just do it on social media for likes and clicks, I think, really, which just makes you like a bell end, to be honest with you. But that's strong from the Fan Advisory Board now. And this was followed up from the trust, I believe, as well. So this was the Stop Exploiting Loyalty kind of tagline here as well. And loads of people back this as well in terms of the Newcastle United Supporters Trust all amongst there. So they said, you can see the statement on the screen, Mark, I'll pull it up there. So it says, we're incredibly disappointed by the news of another 5% increase. The club was already benefiting off approximately 10,000 season tickets, increasing upwards to 60%. They did not need to add more on top of this. We appreciate that the demand will be high, and we know the majority will renew. People will sacrifice things in their lives to prioritize supporting their team, and the club are exploiting this. That sentence is cutting. That is really, really cutting. And if you can't see what that means in that sentence, you need to go get yourself sorted, because people are struggling like fuck nowadays. And to just take the piss like that from people who are so wealthy, disparagingly wealthy compared to the supporters who are coming to watch them, is a bit grotesque, in my opinion. So it says clearly in the communication released by the club that they ignored the request of the Fan Advisory Board, which immediately brings into question how seriously they take feedback from supporters on something that will impact us the most. Wow, that's very strong as well. Season tickets in the Gallagher end will be more expensive next season than most seats in the Kop. The presumed champions of England. Wow, Liverpool. This is a completely unnecessary, unfair price increase. The cost of being a football fan doesn't just end at the price of a ticket, which is what I was saying before. It costs you more than ever to follow your team, with the impact on fixture change, unsociable kickoff times, rising travel costs. Clubs fail to recognise this, and we're one of them now. Brentford, Liverpool, West Ham and Wolves led the way by freezing their prices. We could and should have followed them. That is a massively, massively strong statement. And I agree with every single word of it. I really, really do. And this is the problem with football in general. You look at someone like the Bundesliga. There was an old quote there from I think it was the former Bayern Munich president, which was Ules Hornburg. Sorry, pardon my German pronunciation. He said this, and this is very interesting. This is the difference between the Bundesliga and the greedy, rancid corporate bastards in the Premier League. We could charge more than £104. Let's say we charge 300. We'd get 2 million more income, but what's 2 million to us? In a transfer discussion, you argue about that sum for 5 minutes, but the difference between £104 and £300 is huge to the fan. We do not think fans are like cows who you milk. Football has got to be for everybody. That's the biggest difference between us and England. That is absolutely amazing. That's an old quote. I think Mark was doing some research on the Bundesliga tickets. Now, you can get a ticket for Bayern Munich, standing, I think it is, €170 to watch Bayern fucking Munich, who win everything, who have the best players in Europe playing for them, who are consistently in the last 8 of the Champions League. €170. The most expensive ticket there is 870 quid or whatever, probably sitting in a plush seat with somebody bringing you fucking grapes. But also, in amongst all that, you also get the train fare to the game as well. You don't get that for a Premier League football club at Newcastle United. You don't get that at all. You've got to pay for your metro fares. You've got to pay for your bus fares. You've got to spend petrol money if you're driving up from fucking Yorkshire or London or wherever it is you are, following this football club home and away as you do because you're a loyal supporter. And it is exploiting loyalty. It really, really is. And what worries me here, this was something that really worried me when the takeover happened. It was lost in all the kind of elation and excitement of the takeover that we're going to be the next Manchester City. Sadly, the Premier League had other designs, but this is what worries me the most, because when you have people who are so rich, an increase to them which is so minimalistic, if they dropped it in the street, they wouldn't pick it up, is everything to a fan. Just like the Bayern Munich former president was saying there, these lot are completely misreading the room whatsoever. And you cannot underestimate or undervalue fans' loyalty and patience and understanding. If you do, you do it at your peril. Mike Ashley did this in a very different way, and it come back and bit him on the arse. This is what Darren Eales has had to say about things, and this worries me a little bit as well. So what Darren Eales has said is, well, I'd say this season has been a good season. That's debatable yet, Darren. There's still a lot to go. Don't jump the gun too soon, mate. We, what was I say? We equaled our record number of consecutive wins in the top flight with 9, which is fair. We obviously got a final coming on the 16th of March, so that's our second final in 3 years. When we haven't made one for over 20 years. We're disappointed in getting knocked out of the FA Cup. I think every season under Eddie, we've gone on a cup run. It's really impressive. You can see it with the players that we have on our pitch, whether it's Sandro Tonali or whoever. Being frank, compared to a pre-takeover, I think it's night and day. So I think from the perspective, we're on our journey. I get it. It's football. From match week to match week, there's ups and downs, there's highs and lows. But if you look at the trend and you look at the squad we've got in terms of this season and the players we've got in key positions, it speaks for itself. We've got an amazing manager in Eddie, who's done remarkably since he joined the club. So from my perspective, I'd say it's really positive. And I think you're right, though. There's always going to be a balance, because that's the nature of what we're looking at, well, the way we're looking at things. But I do think, compared to the days where we had to give away season tickets for people to come and watch the team, it's chalk and cheese. Now, I saw that quote on X. I hope that is a genuine quote, by the way. And if it's not, my apologies to Darren Eales, but it looks like it is, because people are already doing videos about it like me. Now, I think Darren Eales is misreading the room there altogether. I think there's a little bit of frustration there from Darren Eales, because he's trying to engage with the fan advisory board and the trust a little bit. The trust haven't bought what he's selling, and rightly so, because the trust are there for the supporters, and this is going to hit the supporters in the pocket massively. And that's what they're trying to protect. They're trying to protect their members. They're trying to protect the supporters. That's what they're meant to do. They're not supposed to just bend over, drop their pants, and let the club go in dry. Pardon for the crassness there, but that's about the only comparison I could think of. And this is where the breaking point happens between the two, of the owners and the supporters. And I never thought it would happen as quickly, maybe, as it has with Newcastle United, but it really is going down that route right now. It really is. And the problem that you have with the fan base in general, and there'll be people watching this right now who are giving me shit in the comments, who are clicking unsubscribe because they don't agree with what I'm saying, right? That's fine. You do what you want to do. You do what you feel like you have to do, right? You can have a difference of opinion in me. That's absolutely fine. If you want to engage in the comments, go ahead and do it. We'll debate. We won't berate. But I think this is a bad optic from the football club. And it's just gone under the radar that nobody seemed to have mentioned here. That I think the cheapest ticket pre-takeover was 26 quid. Now, 3.5, 4 years later, the cheapest ticket is 46 quid. And next season, the cheapest ticket will be 50 quid. Now, that is a big increase. And I know everything else has gone up in the world, right? But as the Bayern Munich former president said there, 2 million quid to them is fuck all. 2 million quid in football terms is nothing. But that increase to the fans is everything. It is exploiting loyalty. There's no doubt about it. Fans are stuck with the club through thick and thin. Some of us got pissed off and walked away. I understand that. I respect my position. I walked away. I'm right at the back of the fucking queue, right? I don't want to jump in front of anybody. These people going, I'll have your ticket. Fuck off. You're a bunch of bellends. That's awful to say about your fellow supporters. And that tells me that you only care about your fucking self and you don't think about anything to the left or right. You just look at what's in the mirror, and that's probably more on you than anything else, right? But I sympathise with these supporters, and I feel sorry for them. And I think the club are really in a tricky situation here. They haven't backed Eddie, right? He's given Eddie big licks about this amazing manager and all that shit. Why didn't you back him then, Darren? Why didn't you give him a player in the last 3 windows? And you could have signed a fucking player. Even towards the end of this window that's just gone by, we got rid of Miggy Almiron and Lloyd Kelly. You could have went in the loan market and tried to get somebody like Marcus Rashford or Asensio. And don't talk to me about the wages and all that, because Villa have managed to do it. And Villa aren't that far ahead of us commercially. So they've managed to do it. Yes, it's a gamble from Villa, but you have to take gambles in football. No risk, no reward. This lot, all they're doing is passing charges on to the fans. And yes, it is partly driven by the Premier League and their bullshit tactics. There is no doubt about that. It's probably largely driven by that. It's probably 70% driven by that. But the other 30% is the club going back to the supporters and asking for more and more and more. And I don't think it's right at all. I think it's a really bad optics. This season is a huge, huge season for us. Champions League is there for us to get. The squad is wafer thin. I think we're going to struggle. I really do. I hate to be negative. I think there's every chance we could finish 6th or 7th. The cup final was already an upward hill to climb. Now we've lost how many key players? I'm seeing stories that Joe Linton gets booked on Monday night. He's out of the final. If Eddie Howe plays him and he gets booked, then that's a massive mistake by the manager there as well. Sven Botman needs surgery. Despite slapping down a fan for saying his season was over, he won't be playing again this season at all. People getting excited about championship players who should have left this club years ago, being fit and getting back on the grass. There's a massive split between this fan base. There's people on the left who swig the Kool-Aid. They could put the prices up 20, 30, 40, 60%, 80%, 100%, and they would still come and they would still praise the club and they would still go, oh, it's amazing and all that. And then you get fans on the other side who are very cynical about a lot of this stuff. And I sit somewhere in the middle. I really do, much like a lot of supporters do. But I don't think this is a good look at all. A lot of other football clubs are doing it. That's fine. But I thought we were better than this. I thought our owners were better than this. I thought they cared about the supporters more than this. And they don't. It looks like it's finance over fans, in my opinion. And that is absolutely rancid. The ballot thing as well stinks of shit. I don't understand how somebody from fucking Chillingham can't get a fucking any ballots won, and somebody from Cincinnati wins 4 ballots, one after the other. Was it the other season? I remember seeing the same faces from America going to Champions League games and Premier League games, and I could not get my head around why I didn't win a fucking ballot place last year at all. So I couldn't get to a game either. And I watched these people from the other side of the world going, yes, you got to grow your international fan base. I get it, but something stinks behind the scenes on that as well. I'm not to be a conspiracy theorist. This is not made of tin, I promise you. But this whole thing for me, I think is wrong. A little bit of credit where it's due for the club. The froze the junior prices. I get that. That's fine. But the drop in the ocean financially for that is nothing. They have give supporters the chance in category 2 to move to a different category, I think, for a cheaper seat if the 5% increase is too much of them. And they have kept the 12-month payment, right? So I'm going to try and cover all the angles here, and I'll give them credit where it's due. They could have just told you couldn't pay over 12 months and give you one big lumper. And that would have hit people even harder in the pocket. So at least there is some options there that the club have retained to try and soften the blow. But I just think the optics look really bad. Coming out, the 10,000 tickets coming off the long-term deal would have been enough to add to the match day revenue. They didn't have to do this double whammy, and then going to the new stadium concerns me as well, because how much of the ticket's going to be in that one. But going back to finish on this point, I always see this talk, always see this conversation about the atmosphere. Oh, the atmosphere is shit in here, the atmosphere is shit today, right? Roy Keane said this years ago, the Prawn Sandwich Brigade, when he was at Old Trafford. And if you look at them now, they've priced loads of their supporters out of going to that ground. The Etihad's the same. You end up with a very, very different class of clientele. I'm not saying that they're bad people, but they're not someone who's going to start a chant, sing at the top of their lungs, roar when someone throws a tackle in. They're not those type of supporters. So what happens then is the whole ethos of your ground changes. The whole atmosphere of your ground changes. And then you get people complaining that the atmosphere is shit. People will call it a library. The players will come out. The manager will come out. We need the fans. We need the atmosphere. But those people just clap like that. They don't get off the seats and go fucking mad and scream at referees. That's not the kind of people that they are. That's where football's heading right now. They're pricing out what I would say the working class fan is being priced out of a ticket in place for a middle class or upper class fan who could afford this, no problem. It's probably a business write-off. It's a corporate ticket, or it's a tourist coming over to watch it. And yes, you have to grow the brand internationally. I get it. But clubs are businesses now over football clubs. They don't seem to care about the communities where the football clubs are based. This game was invented by the working class. It's been taken over by the upper class, and it's now being catered towards the middle class. That is the state of football right now, and it is not a good optic in any way, shape, or form. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about that. A bit of a long rant now. I've had a breath. Whether you agree or disagree, that's fine. You don't need to click unsubscribe on this channel. If you don't agree with that, just let me know why you don't agree with it, and we'll engage you in the comments. But like and subscribe if you like this kind of thing, guys. Keep it ever more. Keep watching. We've got loads of content coming. It's a huge couple of weeks for Newcastle. Season defining. We'll see how good the season is then, Darren, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll come out with a statement after that, Maybe jump the gun a little bit there. But there's loads to talk about. Emotions are running high, but keep it above the belt as always, guys. Let's engage in conversation. Let's not slag each other off and dig each other out. But there's a lot of shit going down with this football club at the minute. It's a massively important end of the season, hugely important summer, and I just don't know what the hell the future holds for Newcastle. But thanks for watching and listening anyway. Have a belt wherever you are. Catch you later, everyone. Cheers.